I'm working on updating my resume, updating my CV, updating my bio, updating my story, putting some muscle, some energy, some product development behind two concepts that I'm launching in real time, doing the heavy work of building what's next for me. I thought it would be important to put up a camera and say something. My friend Dwayne Jones is always telling me that I need to record the building process sometimes and then relate to people authentically with what I'm going through. And so I've had to endure a significant number of mental health challenges over the last year. A lot of relationships that I've had to let go of, and some relationships that are new have been incredibly encouraging and amazing for me. But through the process, I've shifted. I've essentially transformed and shifted what is important to me, and gone back in time and decided to double down on things that were always important, but not important enough. They weren't taking center stage for me. And so that leads me to this moment where I'm doubling down on key to everything. And I have another concept out there that I've already launched it softly, but I'll be a little bit more explicit about putting myself out there with it. That's workflows in. Anyway, this effort right now in resume, storytelling, bio, what have you, it's really just an exercise that I'm going through because I'm kind of trying to capture, make sense of who I am, what accomplishments what things I've accomplished since 2013. So it's 12 years, going on the 13th year. And sometimes you forget day to day, year to year, what you've accomplished, what you've done. And I'll be honest, I came into today feeling a little bit overwhelmed because it was just daunting to have to make sense of, hey, what have you done over the last few years? I've never been one to update my resume and update my bio regularly. And so that's been that. I came into today, honestly, I just came into today feeling a little bit low. I haven't, I've experienced some amazing highs, some really high highs. And honestly, I sustained those highs for a very long time. And the last couple years, it's been what feels like sustained lows. It was stagnant for a middle, then there was a drop off. And I've had to really soul search and go deep inside myself to sort of find something inside of me. First, that I had to find something inside of me, the will to continue to be here. And that's a whole other story I might share another day. But more recently, it's been sort of having to go through the process of the positive self-talk to remind myself of the things that I have accomplished. And so coming into today, I didn't feel that good. I didn't feel up to the task. And I told myself I was going to take a walk first thing this morning, and I didn't. And so I broke a promise to myself the first thing this morning, and that was something that I'm working on as well, is keeping my promises to myself, doing the one thing that I know is good for me, that doesn't have a specific outcome or effect that I'm trying to get after explicitly to be productive for some other person or some other entity, for some corporate outcome or some financial outcome, but to do something that's genuinely good for me and my mental health and my sort of spiritual grounding and spiritual orientation. And I've been doing some back and forth with ChatGPT recently where I used the word, actually I wrote it in my journal just yesterday, I used the word disoriented. And I'm going to talk about that another time and go back and forth with what the conversation that I had within ChatGPT to sort of make sense of where I am. Some great Japanese concepts are here that were sort of brought to the surface. And then I've been doing a lot of meditation. I've been studying, exploring Zen Buddhism very heavily. And again, just seeking ways to feel empowered each day. And this exercise, this was my original point. This exercise, going back in time and piece by piece, one by one, putting the accomplishments together, pulling the timeline, looking at the old resume, and then going through a series of questions back and forth to come up with answers. I'm grateful that I took the time to do that because it brought me just a little bit further along. And honestly, I could say to anyone who's experiencing a tough time, sometimes emotionally, well, I'll say this, sometimes financially, when things aren't going well for you financially, a lot of things are out of play and just out of sync in general. Also, when we're not being deliberate about cultivating a positive mental attitude and a mindset that could at least get us up in the morning and make us feel empowered enough to be resilient, that could also keep you horribly out of sync, or in my word is disoriented. And I'm grateful that I'm spending the day taking a small step towards creating orientation, locating myself and placing myself in the world. And we'll see what this turns into. But I'm going to chronicle it because what I'm personally doing is I'm going back and I'm making sense of improving out my own concept called Key to Everything, where I'm shifting my inputs day by day to essentially bring myself back to a point of feeling alive, enlightened, empowered, awakened, productive, excited, positive, all of those things. And here's the thing, it's not easy. I'm also making sure that I'm using my self-talk to reprogram the way that I think about myself and the way that I talk to myself. Sometimes I go into a negative tailspin, and I'm incredibly creative and driven to talk myself down. And I'm sharing this because I know that all of us go through this. And if you don't go through this and you're fine, then it's cool, grow past. But all of us go through pain. And sometimes the shame of past transgressions, issues, concerns, emotions, failures, things you felt like you could have done or been better at, decisions you made, whatever it is. We used those memories to replay to ourselves in our minds as if we still live there. And one of the affirmations that I had that I read this morning was, I am not who I was, I am who I choose to become. And it's just about being present in this moment, choosing right now to become whatever it is I'm to be now. And just being very clear and recognizing that whatever I was, I am not that anymore. And it's not disregard or just complete take it from memory, but it's also a recognition and an acknowledgement that every day we have the opportunity to choose to be who we're going to be that day. And there's only today, there is no yesterday. And tomorrow's also just in our imagination. So that's all I got. I wanted to share that as I continue to build. Today, I upgraded my personal inputs. I am not who I was yesterday. I am who I choose to become. And that's a very present activity. That's a today activity.